If you're over 60 and feel buried under clutter, both in your home and your mind, what I'm about to share could change everything. Psychologists in 2025 are calling minimalism one of the most powerful tools for reducing stress and improving mental health in seniors. But here's what shocked me when I started researching this. It's not really about throwing things away. It's not about living in an empty house or getting rid of everything you love. It's about something much deeper, something you've been missing for years and didn't even know it. See, most people think clutter is just a physical problem, a messy house, too much stuff. But the truth is, clutter affects your brain in ways science is only now beginning to understand. It drains your energy. It clouds your thinking. It steals your peace without you even realizing it's happening. And if you've been telling yourself, "I'll deal with it someday," or "it's too overwhelming to even start," I need you to stay with me. Because what you're about to discover isn't another organizing system or cleaning routine. It's a complete reset, one that's helping thousands of seniors finally feel light, clear, and in control again. Stay with me. This could change everything. In this video, you'll discover 3 surprising ways clutter is secretly draining your mental energy after 60, and why your brain feels foggy even when you're trying to relax. I'll share 2 simple decluttering methods designed specifically for seniors that don't require heavy lifting, endless hours, or throwing away things you love. And finally, I'll reveal one powerful mindset shift that transforms minimalism from something that feels empty and sad into something that feels freeing and full of peace. Here's what makes this different. These aren't generic tips you've heard before. These are strategies backed by 2025 research on senior brain health, tested by real people in their 60s, 70s and beyond, people who thought they could never let go, but found a way that actually worked. Stay until the end, because that last tip, it's the one that finally helped thousands of seniors stop feeling guilty about decluttering and start feeling lighter, calmer and more in control of their space and their mind. One viewer told me it was the missing piece they'd been searching for their entire retirement. You walk into your living room, and instead of feeling calm, you feel heavy. There are boxes stacked in corners you haven't opened in years, clothes hanging in your closet you'll never wear again, shelves filled with things that once meant something, but now they just sit there collecting dust and guilt. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later, sort through it this weekend, organize it next month, but later never comes. And every time you look at it, there's this quiet voice whispering, "You should do something about this." Here's what most people don't realize. Clutter doesn't just take up space in your home. It takes up space in your mind. A 2024 study from the Journal of Environmental Psychology found something remarkable. Seniors living in cluttered environments reported 32% higher stress levels and struggled significantly more with focus, memory, and sleep quality. Why? Because every single item you see is a tiny decision your brain has to process, even if you're not consciously aware of it. That magazine on the coffee table, your brain asks, "Should I read that, move it, throw it away?" That box in the corner, "What's in there? Do I need it? When will I go through it?" Multiply that by hundreds of items, and suddenly your mind is running a marathon, just sitting in your own living room. Now imagine this. What if you could wake up tomorrow in a space that felt light, open, and calm? What if your home became a place of rest instead of stress? What if you could finally breathe again? Let me tell you about Mr. Samuel, a 67-year-old retired teacher from Texas. For years, Samuel held on to everything. His late wife's clothing still hung in the closet, untouched. Old lesson plans filled boxes in the garage. His children's artwork from decades ago was stacked in the attic. He thought keeping these things meant keeping the memories alive. That somehow letting go would mean forgetting the people and moments he loved most. But one morning, everything changed. Samuel woke up and couldn't find his blood pressure medication. He searched everywhere, through piles of papers, boxes of old belongings, cluttered drawers. It was buried somewhere in the chaos. And as he stood there, frustrated and anxious, it hit him like a wave. He wasn't honoring the past, he was drowning in it. That's when Samuel made a decision. Not to throw everything away, but to keep only what brought him peace. To ask himself a simple question about each item. Does this add to my life, or does it weigh me down? He started small. One drawer, one closet. No pressure, no deadlines. And within 3 months, something incredible happened. Samuel said he started sleeping better. His anxiety dropped. He could think clearly again. His home felt like his again. And here's the best part. He didn't feel like he'd lost his memories. He felt like he'd freed them. He kept one quilt his wife made, one box of his children's most meaningful art, a few photos he truly cherished. And suddenly, those items meant more than they ever had before. What Samuel discovered is what minimalism is really about. And it's not what most people think. So what's the secret? Let's break it down. Warning sign number 1. You feel anxious in your own home. If you walk into a room and immediately feel tension in your chest, a tightness in your shoulders, or just this overwhelming sense of, I can't deal with this right now, that's your brain sending you a signal. And it's not just in your head. Clutter triggers the stress hormone cortisol, especially in seniors whose brains are already managing age-related changes like memory processing and emotional regulation. When your environment is chaotic, your nervous system stays on alert. It's like trying to relax in the middle of a busy intersection. Your body simply can't do it. A neuroscience study from 2024 found that visual clutter competes for attention in your brain, making it harder to focus, rest, or even feel safe in your own space. For seniors, this effect is even stronger because the aging brain has to work harder to filter out distractions. So here's the solution, and it's beautifully simple. The one-touch rule. Here's how it works. When you pick something up, anything, a piece of mail, a book, a kitchen gadget, you make a decision right then and there. Keep it, donate it, or toss it. No, I'll decide later pile. No, maybe box. No setting it down somewhere else to think about it next week. One touch. One decision. This might sound small, but this one habit alone can cut your decision fatigue in half. Why? Because every time you postpone a decision, your brain has to store that unfinished task in what psychologists call your mental load. And that load adds up fast. Let me give you an example. You're sorting through mail. You pick up a catalogue. Instead of setting it on the counter to look at later, you ask yourself right now, will I actually order from this? If the answer is no, it goes straight into recycling. One touch, done. Or you're going through a drawer. You find an old kitchen tool you haven't used in 2 years. Instead of putting it back and saying, maybe someday, You decide, keep it or donate it, right now. One decision and it's finished. The beauty of this rule is that it doesn't require you to declutter your entire home in one day. You can apply it anytime, anywhere. Opening the mail? One-touch rule. Putting away groceries? One-touch rule. Going through a closet? Same thing. And here's what people notice first. They stop feeling paralyzed. Because the hard part isn't getting rid of stuff, it's making the decision. Once you commit to deciding immediately, the clutter starts dissolving on its own. One woman told me she used this rule for just 1 week, and she cleared 3 bags of items from her kitchen alone. Not because she spent hours organizing, but because she stopped letting decisions pile up. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. But what if I make the wrong choice? What if I regret getting rid of something? Here's the truth. In over 30 years of decluttering research, studies show that people regret less than 1% of what they let go. 1%. And even when they do, it's usually something that can be easily replaced. But the mental freedom? The peace you feel when you walk into a room and it doesn't scream at you. That's priceless. So here's your first action step. Pick one small area today. A junk drawer, your nightstand, the top of your dresser, and practice the one-touch rule. Touch it once, decide once, and move on. Warning sign number 2. You're holding on to things out of guilt. Now, this is the big one. And if you've ever felt a knot in your stomach when thinking about getting rid of something, you need to hear this. You keep gifts you never liked. That vase from your sister-in-law. The sweater that's not your style. You hold on to clothes that haven't fit in 5 years because you spent good money on them. You store items from people who are no longer in your life. Old friends, former colleagues, even relatives who've passed away, because getting rid of them feels like betrayal. Like you're erasing them. Like you're saying they didn't matter. And every time you look at these things, you don't feel joy. You feel guilt. Guilt for not using them. Guilt for not being grateful enough. Guilt for even thinking about letting them go. But here's the truth, and I need you to really hear this. You are not your stuff. And your love for someone isn't measured by what you keep in your closet or your garage. Think about it. If someone you love passed away, would they want you to spend the rest of your life surrounded by things that make you feel heavy and burdened? Or would they want you to feel light, peaceful, and free? The memories you have, the laughter, the conversations, the moments that truly mattered, those live in your heart, not in a box in your attic. A gift was meant to bring joy when it was given. If it's not bringing you joy now, you've already honored it. You don't owe it a lifetime of storage. Let me tell you something powerful. Letting go of the object doesn't mean letting go of the person. It means making space for the love to breathe instead of suffocate under obligation. So here's a method that's helped thousands of seniors release guilt without losing connection. The photo method. Here's how it works. Take a photo of the sentimental item. Just one good, clear photo. Look at it. Acknowledge what it represented. Say thank you out loud if you need to. Thank the person who gave it to you. Thank the memory attached to it. Then let the physical item go. Donate it to someone who will actually use it and love it. Give it a second life. Because here's something beautiful. When you donate that sweater, someone else gets to wear it and feel good. When you pass along that dish set, a young family just starting out gets to use it at their dinner table. Your act of letting go becomes someone else's blessing. And you still have the photo. You still have the memory. but you no longer have the weight. I'll give you a real example. A woman named Claire came to me with 14 boxes of her mother's belongings. She'd been storing them for 8 years, hadn't opened most of them, but couldn't bear to part with anything because, in her words, it would feel like losing her all over again. We started with just one box. We took photos of her mother's favourite scarf, a set of teacups and a few greeting cards. Claire cried, she laughed, she told me stories about her mom. And then she said something I'll never forget. "I don't need the scarf to remember her hands. I don't need the teacups to remember our Sunday mornings. I just needed permission to let them go." Within 2 months, Claire had released 12 of the 14 boxes. She kept 2 items, a necklace and a recipe book that truly brought her peace. And she told me her home finally felt like hers again, not a museum to the past. Here's what I want you to understand. Guilt is not love. Obligation is not honor. And holding on to things that drain you doesn't keep anyone's memory alive. It just keeps you stuck. You deserve to live in a space that supports your life now, not one that's weighed down by yesterday's expectations. So here's your second action step. Find one item you've been holding on to purely out of guilt. Take a photo, thank it, and let it go. You don't have to clear out everything today. Just one thing. And notice how you feel afterward. Warning, sign number 3. You can't find what you need when you need it. Lost keys, misplaced glasses, that important bill buried under a stack of papers, the scissors you swore you just had 5 minutes ago, the remote control that somehow vanished into thin air. Again. Sound familiar? If you're constantly searching for things in your own home, let me tell you something important. This isn't just frustrating. This isn't just a normal part of aging. This is exhausting your mental energy in ways you might not even realize. Every time you search for something, your brain goes into problem-solving mode. Your stress levels rise. Your focus gets pulled away from what you actually wanted to do. And by the time you finally find what you are looking for, if you find it, you're tired, irritated, and you've wasted precious time and energy. A study from Princeton University found that physical clutter in your environment competes for your attention, making it significantly harder to process information and stay focused. For seniors, this cognitive load is even more taxing because the aging brain already works harder to filter and prioritize information. Think about how much time you lose each week just looking for things. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. It adds up. But more than the time, it's the mental toll, the frustration, the feeling of being scattered and out of control in your own space. Here's a simple test, and I want you to try this right now, or at least think about it honestly. If you can't find something you use regularly in under 60 seconds, you have too much stuff in that space. Period. Your keys should have one spot, and you should be able to walk to it with your eyes closed. Your glasses should be exactly where you expect them. Your important papers should be in one clear, organized place, not scattered across 3 rooms. If that's not your reality right now, don't worry. There's a solution, and it's one of the most practical, effective decluttering tools I've ever come across. It's called the 90-90 rule, and it's been endorsed by organizing experts, therapists, and even geriatric doctors who work with seniors on maintaining independence and mental clarity. Here's how it works. If you haven't used something in the past 90 days, and you won't use it in the next 90 days, it's time to let it go. That's it. Simple, clear, and incredibly effective. Let me walk you through how to apply this in your daily life, because this works for almost everything in your home. Let's start with your closet. Pull out a piece of clothing. Ask yourself, have I worn this in the last 3 months? Will I wear it in the next 3 months? If the answer to both questions is no, it doesn't belong in your active wardrobe. It can be donated, stored seasonally, or let go entirely. Now, your kitchen. That gadget in the back of the drawer, the one you bought 5 years ago with good intentions, but never actually use. Have you used it in 90 days? Will you use it in the next 90? If not, someone else could be getting value from it right now while it just takes up your space. Paperwork is huge for this. Old bank statements from 3 years ago. Expired warranties. Instruction manuals for appliances you no longer own. If you haven't needed to reference them in 90 days and won't in the next 90, shred them or recycle them. Free up that drawer. Clear that desk. Even sentimental items can fall into this category. I'm not saying throw away your treasures, but that box of old greeting cards you haven't looked at in years. If they're not bringing you active joy, if you're not actually revisiting them, they're just taking up mental and physical space. Now, here's the beautiful part about the 90-90 rule. It takes the emotion out of the decision. You're not asking yourself, do I love this? Or might I need this someday? Those questions are too vague, too guilt-inducing. Instead, you're asking a factual, time-based question. Have I used it? Will I use it? It's concrete, it's clear, and it makes deciding so much easier. I'll give you a real-world example. A man named George had a garage so full he couldn't park his car in it anymore. He'd been avoiding it for years because the thought of sorting through everything felt overwhelming. But when he applied the 90-90 rule, something shifted. He realized he had 3 old lawnmowers. Only one worked. He had boxes of tools he hadn't touched in a decade. Paint cans from projects finished years ago. Sporting equipment from hobbies he no longer pursued. Within 2 weekends, he'd cleared out more than half the garage. Not because he forced himself to throw away things he loved, but because he honestly admitted what he actually used. George told me, I thought I needed all of it. Turns out I just needed space to breathe. And here's the thing. Once you start using the 90-90 rule, your home becomes more functional. You're surrounded only by things you actually use and need, and suddenly finding your keys takes 5 seconds instead of 5 minutes. Your glasses are always in the same spot. Your bills are where they should be. You stop wasting energy on searching and start using that energy on living. Pick one category, your closet, your kitchen, your desk, wherever you feel the most chaos, and apply the 90-90 rule. Be honest with yourself. If you haven't used it in 90 days and won't in the next 90, let it go. But here's the part most people miss, and it's the real secret to minimalism after 60. It's not about living with less. It's about living with enough. A 2025 study from Stanford's Center on Longevity found that seniors who intentionally simplified their living spaces reported a 22% improvement in mental clarity and a 19% boost in overall happiness. But here's the kicker. The seniors who thrived the most weren't the ones who threw everything away. They were the ones who kept only what had meaning. One woman said it perfectly. I used to think my home was full. Now I realize it was just crowded. There's a difference. Full means richness. Crowded means chaos. And most of us have been living in chaos, thinking it was abundance. So what can I get rid of? The question is, what do I want to keep close? What truly adds to my life? What makes me feel like me? When you shift to that mindset, everything changes. Because suddenly, you're not losing anything. You're choosing everything. And that choice, that's where the freedom lives. Three months after Samuel started his minimalism journey, his daughter came to visit. She walked in and stopped in the doorway. She looked around at the clean surfaces, the open space, the light pouring through the windows, and her eyes filled with tears. She said, "Dad, this feels like you again." Samuel didn't just declutter his house, he decluttered his mind. His mornings felt lighter. He could actually enjoy his coffee without the weight of unfinished tasks hanging over him. His evenings felt calmer. He could sit in his chair and read without his eyes constantly catching on things that needed to be dealt with. And for the first time in years, he could breathe. Really breathe. He told me something I'll never forget. "I thought I'd feel empty. I thought letting go would leave me with nothing, but I feel fuller than I have in decades." Because here's what Samuel discovered, and what I hope you're starting to see. Minimalism isn't about loss. It's about making room for what matters. When you clear away the clutter, the things that don't serve you, the guilt, the obligations, the excess, you create space. Space for peace. Space for clarity. Space for the people and moments that actually fill your heart. Our elders always said, "A clear space is a clear mind." They knew something we forgot in our rush to accumulate, to hold on, to keep everything just in case. Maybe it's time we listened. Maybe it's time we remembered that a life well lived isn't measured by what we own, but by how we feel when we wake up each morning. You deserve that feeling. You deserve a home that supports you, not one that burdens you. And it's never too late to start. Remember, minimalism after 60 isn't about perfection. It's about peace. You don't have to transform your entire home overnight. You don't have to become someone you're not. Start small, one drawer, one corner, one decision at a time. Progress, not perfection. Here's your challenge. Pick one thing today, just one, that no longer serves you. It could be a piece of clothing, a kitchen gadget, a stack of old magazines. Let it go. And then pause. Notice how you feel. Notice if there's a little more space to breathe. If this video helped you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's help more seniors reset their space and their mind. And tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you've been holding on to that you know you need to release? Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's an object. Maybe it's an old story you've been telling yourself. Let's support each other on this journey. You're not alone.